Lost luggage, almost missing my flight, and still having to sit in the middle seat, that wasn't what I signed up for when I booked this plane ticket, economy or not. This just didn't turn out to be your usual old travel day. Today, we're going to be seeing what it's like to fly Greece's national carrier, Aegean Airlines. After a very hectic time getting from the main central part of the city in Paris over to Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport, I've already started walking up the jet bridge to board my flight aboard an A320neo. My first flight will be just under 3 hours over to their hub in Athens, and then I'll be hopping on board a much shorter flight to Izmir in the country of Turkey. Both of these flights will be flown in economy class, which apparently at Charles de Gaulle Airport means you're going to sweat. But we've almost made it on board now to the cold AC. So let's see what Aegean Airlines is like. It might just be that I had just been running across the airport, but boarding felt kind of slow. That was really fine though, because it gave me some time to look at what the economy seats closest to the front look like on this plane. Finally we made it back to our seats though, and well, row 24 was pretty tight. I guess it didn't help that the person behind my wife kept grabbing onto her seat. But the best way to deal with a situation like that when flying is to just politely ask if you can change seats.
The flight time for today is approximately 2 hours 45 minutes, so in the next few minutes we'll be ready to depart.
Now, despite being a little worried that I might actually miss my flight, I was not nearly the last person to board this aircraft. In fact, so many more people had to board so slowly that we're now actually just a little bit delayed. Our takeoff time was supposed to be 11:05, but luckily the flight's really not all that full at all, and after asking the flight attendant, my wife Ross and I were able to get a full row to ourselves, and that means my cell phone gets a middle seat.
Please fasten your seatbelts now and pull them tight. On behalf of the whole crew today, I wish you a pleasant journey with us.
We originally had a window and aisle in row 24. Now we're over here in row 25, directly behind row 24. But the thing is, row 24 had some really tight legroom. The legroom here is just slightly better. So if you get the chance to select your seat when booking Aegean, don't go with row 24. The thing about it though is we'll go over how much I paid for these flights and all that kind of stuff towards the end of the video, but I booked an economy light fare, and despite holding Star Alliance Gold status, this particular airline does not let you select your seat at all. It's only random allocation. Luckily they do at least seat you with your travel partners, but you can't like change your seat after they've randomly allocated it to you or anything. So if I hadn't asked the flight attendant about boarding, I would have just been stuck in the seat that I had been given. Worth noting. But we've already gone through all of the safety announcements, all that kind of stuff. We are now probably about 15 minutes late. Let's see if we don't arrive to Athens on time or not. For me, it won't really matter much. I've got a very long, over 3 hour layover there. And really just a few minutes later, we're already here, pushing back. So yeah, hopefully in time in Athens, and then with that long layover, we can go check out the Aegean Flagship Lounge, because my next flight will be out of the EU, so I can go to the non-Schengen lounge, which is supposed to be the better one over at Athens Airport. And I would have loved to have shown you the X-Time and Star Alliance lounges over here at Charles de Gaulle Airport, but unfortunately, I had some train delays, and I nearly missed this flight. So, delays are relatively typical of public transport here in the greater Paris area, to be honest, but I could have planned a little better. I gave myself a little over 3 hours. Honestly, I'd probably go for like over 4 hours if you're flying out of Charles de Gaulle. And if you're flying not to another Schengen country, then give yourself 5 hours probably. The whole thing does also depend a bit on when exactly you're traveling within the day. And I hadn't really considered it as much as I should have, especially as someone who's flown out of Charles de Gaulle a ton. But departing around 11 a.m. actually means that you're going to hit the very worst time of rush hour, because rush hour in Paris is perhaps a little bit later than, I don't know, people living in North America or Asia might be used to. But that's enough about Paris. Let's turn the focus back to Aegean Airlines, as we're just about to head out to our final takeoff runway. And as we head on over there, we're just kind of taxiing right next to Air France. Interestingly, in the past few years, Turkish Airlines has been winning the best airline in Europe. But based on my experience with both Air France and Aegean, I've got to say, I've been more impressed by both of these airlines than Turkish. And the most exciting thing about the fact that I'm about to take off right now is this will start the flight portion of my 2-month round-the-world trip, where I'll be stopping in dozens of cities all around the world. And make sure to subscribe for all different kinds of travel videos from that trip and many others. This channel's not just about flying. It's not just about culture. It's not even just about the interesting people I meet all over the world. It's about all of those things and how to travel all the time on a budget. So if you're not subscribed, you're definitely missing out.
stall. Our terminals make doors intact as passengers in the flight safety.
Oh my god, and this morning, almost afternoon, I am so lucky with these views. Just flying over central Paris, you can see the Seine River there. And all of the rest of that beauty that is Paris. Which even includes the Eiffel Tower. I mean, wow. Aegean gets best airline in the world just for flying over the Eiffel Tower. Well, just kidding. But just a minute here. Once they get those seatbelt signs off, and we have hit a few bumps just going over Paris, then service should probably start up pretty soon. I've flown this airline quite a lot in the past. They've always had very nice food, and they have food on every single flight. So there's the seatbelt sign right now. Let's see what the service and overall in-flight experience is like. We've just been cruising for a little while now. Service has actually started, but over towards the back you get served, well, later, because they always start at the front. But they also have Wi-Fi, Aegean Wi-Fi. And with a lot of airlines starting to just give out Wi-Fi for free, either in unlimited amounts or limited amounts, I'm interested to see what Aegean's doing these days. Let's see. You get this pop-up. They value your privacy. And it looks like they are doing free Wi-Fi, but you have to at least be a Miles and Bonus member in general, I assume. I don't think you actually have to hold any status or a business class passenger. Otherwise, then you would have to pay some prices like 6 or 12 euros. But at least the in-flight map is for free. You can see right now we're flying somewhere in between Munich and Vaduz. So yeah, basically Aegean gives you free Wi-Fi. That's pretty cool. I think it's reasonable enough that you have to have an account with the frequent flyer program. And this A320neo is one of their newer aircraft, so it feels a little bit sleeker than their older Airbuses, and you've got USB charging ports. So far pretty nice, even in economy. And as I kind of expected, the meal looks pretty nice. Some kind of maybe beetroot couscous, something like that. And I went for lasagna with beef, but there was also the option of fish with potatoes. Honestly, airlines like Lufthansa flying similar routes to Aegean should just be completely embarrassed and ashamed of themselves being in the same alliance and not even serving a meal like this. And I mean, this is like nice Greek food on an airplane, so before I've even tasted anything, this is the right way to go. Thanks so much. And they've got plenty of drink options on board, including nice Greek wines, and I think Greek beer as well. Well, I'm really in need of some coffee after battling the Paris Metro for 2 hours. But damn, there's no better way to cruise over the Alps in economy class than on Aegean Airlines, I think. This couscous stuff is seriously good. And the same goes for this lasagna. It's got this little kick of cinnamon in it. Honestly, it doesn't taste that much like lasagna. It tastes a lot like kuku. This is like a Greek grandmother cooking for you on this airline in economy class. Amazing, Aegean. And well, as far as the internet goes, it seems like everything that I can actually access does load very fast, but I'm not able to actually make use of the whole internet because, yeah, I apparently have locked up my Aegean account because I haven't used it in years and I forgot the password. Tried the password 5 times. 5 times was wrong. So I don't know if every single aircraft is outfitted with Wi-Fi yet in the Aegean fleet, but if you plan to use their Wi-Fi, you'll either need to actually sign up for an account if you don't already have one, which seems to actually be possible with the internet, but unfortunately I already have one and I don't feel like using like a fake email or something to create a second account. So if you do have an account that you haven't logged into for a while, make sure you know that password or have it saved in your device or something, basically. Anyway, who even needs Wi-Fi when you have a beautiful magazine that's like, I don't know, hundreds of pages that you can read on any Aegean flight? And I mean, Aegean only does basically short and sort of medium haul flights. I don't think they have a flight that even reaches 5 hours long, so you could probably just stay busy with this magazine rather than use the Wi-Fi. And on an under 3 hour flight, they even come around for a second little snack service. Yeah, they're like little granola bar bites. I don't know, even just for a small snack, it's pretty good. They seem to have like a rule, no bad food allowed on this airline. I don't know. Yeah, coffee with milk, please. It's funny stuff. And of course a second drink service too. But you know, if I was sitting in this middle seat, I don't know what I'd be saying. So I definitely got a little bit lucky today. But a little bit more water and coffee for me as we head on towards Athens, just about to start our descent. And once we're over in Athens, we're gonna check out the flagship lounge. So keep watching for that, and don't forget to give this video a like if you're enjoying it while watching it. Here we are, just about to enter our final descent down into Athens Airport. Looks like it's a sunny, beautiful day over in Greece. So I started this flight with a great view of the Eiffel Tower, and now, more in the distance, I've got a view of the Acropolis. You definitely can't say that kind of thing every time you hop on a flight. But as much as my experience in the air on this first flight has pretty much just been like 10 out of 10 awesome, I've got to say, in the past, dealing with Aegean Airlines on the ground is not usually 10 out of 10 awesome. Sometimes it's worse than others, but I've never had great dealings with customer service on the ground with Aegean, so I am pretty interested to see how their flagship lounge mixes up the experience on the ground here in Athens. And now we go here, out the back. Thank you. Thank you very much. Pretty standard over here on inter-Schengen flights, on narrow-body planes, but yeah, there's a bus to be taken over the terminal. There's no jet bridge that you arrive to. Honestly, my experience on Aegean transiting through Athens, I have never pulled up to the jet bridge. I don't know if they do sometimes or not. But deplaning was actually reasonably quick, and well, if you're a huge fan of jet bridges, then I guess this is a downside. But for me, really the only big downside here transiting through Athens is that I'm actually going to have to leave the airside part of the terminal and then re-clear security to get to where all the non-Schengen flights leave from. And the whole thing's a little bit of a trek, and it's always very busy over here at Athens Airport, but I've made it to the A gates where I'm leaving from. And not too bad. If you hold Star Alliance Gold or any status above that when flying with Aegean, you get fast track. Actually, back at Charles de Gaulle I got fast track, but also fast track at Athens Airport. The only thing is fast track at Athens Airport isn't necessarily that fast. Took about 10 minutes in the end. Could be worse. After following the signs for a while, I made it to the Aegean Lounge, which I would be able to access using my Star Alliance Gold status despite flying economy class. Alright, level 3 Aegean. Alright, it's over there. Alright, just scan the boarding pass. Thank you. And yeah, at first glance is looking pretty nice, no? Lots of nice Greek stuff. Was excited to come eat Greek stuff, basically. Yeah. All the savory dishes over here, sweets over here, more sweets over this way. Oh, coffee, all kinds of coffee, American coffee, Greek coffee. Oh, you can even do like a Greek frappe, espresso. Nice. I think I'll put my stuff down here for now. And let's just take a little look around the rest of the lounge here. I'm exploring this as much as you are. It's my first time ever in this lounge. Greek news. And over this way, I can already see you get views of the runway. And the seating looks really nice in this lounge as I'm walking over here. Let's see what the views are like. Oh, Emirates 777 just hanging out. Oh, I was wrong. They do park some Aegean planes at gates. Okay, honestly, maybe I just forgot. Maybe I've been to or from a jet bridge flying Aegean once or twice. And there you got Air Canada, etc. There's another coffee station back this way, and then it looks like I'm getting to the end. And yeah, that looks to be about it. Maybe it's just a little bit smaller than I expected it to be, being like the flagship lounge, but looks pretty nice. And the food options are pretty solid. I mean, there's not like too many options. This isn't like Qatar Airways lounge in Doha or something, but you've got the Greek necessities and just basic stuff. So the only thing that I haven't been able to track down here is any showers. I mean, I didn't look it up beforehand, but I just assumed in an international lounge like this you would have showers. They don't seem to have any. But, oh well, seems like a pretty solid place to wait out a few more hours here and eat way too much Greek food. And fast forward to just about 3 hours later, a lot of Greek food, a little bit too much Greek coffee, and some slow internet, and no shower. And now I'm headed over to the gate for my second flight with my wife, Rasa, of course, to take ourselves over to Izmir, Turkey, and see what that's like over there. It's our first time going there. If you were flying Aegean and you didn't have lounge access, you'd be hanging out over here if it's one of those non-Schengen flights. But actually my flight is already boarding. So, what's our gate number? 25. So we better get our buns over to gate 825 before they close it up. Today's just a day of not being that on time, but luckily France and Greece aren't really countries where you have to be too on time most of the time. That's it. Do not take that as a recommendation not to show up on time for flights anywhere. You always want to show up on time. And here we are. The gates are kind of strange over here at Athens Airport, but anyway, we've made it to our gate. And you see that bus driving away. That was the first boarding bus. Now we just gotta wait for the second bus to show up to take us back over, probably somewhere where we got off our other plane about 3.5 hours ago. Hi.
This line is only for priority, please. Thank you.
Thank you. And here we are, back on the very, 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 very loud bus. And we're headed to our plane. And it is very, very windy here, but this is kind of the experience that you expect coming to Athens Airport, to be honest. Especially flying Aegean. Like I was saying, it's rare that I've been on a jet bridge. It's usually like this, and it is best to come prepared for it if possible. I actually checked the bag I normally would carry on, just knowing that I would be having to transit through Athens Airport. I've got to say there are like a lot of plane fumes in the wind and all that. It's not very fun doing this, but here we are, finally on board. And now on board here. This is a much older feeling Airbus, the regular 320, not the 320neo. And yeah, everything pretty much seems about the same with the seat layout, but I don't know, my seat at least is kind of broken into like a semi-recline mode all of the time. There does still seem to be like a Wi-Fi network, but other than that, the aircraft just feels a little less modern than that Neo. No USB ports, and featuring some randomly left behind trash from other passengers. But the flight is also much more full, almost entirely full actually. And honestly, I've flown quite a fair amount of domestic flights on Aegean. This feels pretty much like one of their domestic flights, and yeah, it's gonna be about a 35-minute flight over to Izmir. So yeah, technically crossing a border and all, but it does feel very similar to their domestic flights. But let's get in there and see what service is like. We've already started our taxi, the emergency announcements are done, and we should be ready to take off soon. Quite leveled off at cruising altitude yet, but the flight attendant is rushing around doing service because, yeah, a 35-minute flight, it's like almost unfathomable how you would even provide any service on such a short flight, but they definitely managed to do it on Aegean. It just involves a very small snack and a water bottle, but it's still something, so it's a nice touch. I definitely stand by what I was saying, that it's pretty much like a domestic flight, really not much different at all. So I mean, if for whatever reason you were more interested in actually experiencing all that economy class has to offer on Aegean, definitely take a flight that's at least about 2 hours long. And although I'm not sitting up in business class today, I would definitely say pretty much the same rule if you're trying to fly business class on Aegean. And speaking of business class, Aegean does not have like a true lie flat business class or anything like that, but you get a little bit more food up there. I think you get an empty middle seat, that kind of thing. Basically Euro business class. And all of the times that I've booked with Aegean, they basically always give you the chance to bid for an upgrade, or usually even just purchase one outright. For the earlier flight I took from Paris, bidding started at 155 euros, which, I don't know, in my opinion is a little bit steep for what you get being a little bit familiar with the business class. And then on the shorter flight it started somewhere around like 70 or 80 euros, I forget the exact number. Again, that's just the minimum bid, it doesn't mean you're gonna win. And outside of specific cases, economy class is pretty acceptable for these short flights. Plus there's the fact that Aegean is often pretty competitive when it comes to having best prices combined with the best experience. For this flight I paid exactly 160 euros and 24 cents, which definitely wasn't as cheap as I'd have wanted it to be, but it was pretty much the best deal available for the day that I needed to travel. And one good thing to keep in mind with Aegean is that they very, very frequently will have discount codes available for different routes. I mean, in the past I've even flown from like Germany to Greece and back for well under 100 euros. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
But little did I realize when we landed, I was in for a surprise. And well. After an overall positive experience today with Aegean, I'm over at the baggage claim, and I mentioned that I checked my bag because I didn't want to deal with it during that 3.5-hour layover. It's not here. And we're about 30 minutes after it should have been here. So sure enough, I opened up my phone that I recently connected with an eSIM, and Aegean had sent me an alert that both of our bags had been misplaced. I forget the exact wording. Then 1 minute later, they sent some kind of an alert saying that they've been found, but they didn't say where they've been found or anything like that, so I submitted 2 forms. Hopefully they'll find our bags before we move on to another city in just 2 days. But just in case, I'm gonna stop at the Lost and Found and see if they can't give us a little more info before we leave the airport. The guy working at the Lost and Found was actually really nice and got all of our info, saying he'd personally see to it that we got our bags. Of course, you never really know until you have them in hand, though.
Sorry for this problem, please.
Oh, it's not your fault, it's Aegean.
Enjoy your holiday.
Okay.
Wow, thank you so much.
Shit happens. Thank you. So empty-handed, we headed over to the train to get to our hotel in Izmir.
Bye.
Cash rolled everything around me. Cream. Get the lira. It's a pretty ticket they have. Bilet 35. As we made our way into the night, I found myself wondering, how would things turn out? Would Aegean find my bag and get it to me? Or would I have to start my long trip flying all the way around the world in the worst way possible, without almost everything I'd packed? Well, in my next video from the city of Izmir, we'll see how things go. But as for this hit and miss Aegean Airlines experience, that's about it. If the video was useful or just entertaining, don't forget to like and consider subscribing for over 200 more travel videos if you haven't yet. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you all in the next video.